Well, Jonathan, welcome to WP-Tonic. Here we are back to sort of do a wrap. This is going to air on first Sunday in January.
December, you mean?
Let's start again. January. Jonathan, welcome to WP-Tonic. The big head. Hey, Jonathan, the big head.
Are you actually there, Bill?
I'm
Mentally?
here.
Yeah,
I'm
you
here.
sure, Bill? You know, I just want to tell our audience that this has been going on for 20 minutes, trying to get the beginning of this show going, and Bill's been at his
I've been on the computer
at
like too long, too many
you
hours on the
you've
computer
been at
this week.
you've been at your best, haven't you, Bill? Let's admit it.
Oh, a lot of hours, a lot of hours.
Yeah,
And I'm working.
right.
I did have my meetup yesterday, which wasn't supposed to be a WP meetup, a WordPress meetup, but it sort of turned into a WordPress meetup because
Right,
we did a little Google Plus live. So
right,
anyway,
yeah.
Jonathan, what are we doing? What are we talking about today?
Well, I thought we have a bit of a roundup of what's gone on in the past couple of weeks because we've produced some really fantastic material for our audience, and we might also just cover a little bit about what our predictions might be for 2015 when it comes to WordPress. Um, but we might have to do that in another show because we're going to try and keep this to 24 minutes, aren't we, Bill?
Correct, correct.
Um,
We're at 1 minute 30 seconds right now.
yep. So basically, let's start off with our show where we covered security, and we covered two plugins, Securi and iTheme Security, and I tried to cover security in a way that an average WordPress administrator, owner, somebody that's trying to do it themselves could utilize these two plugins and harden their website without having to go get too intense. So, how did you think that episode went, Bill?
It's really good, especially with the tutorials that you built that went along with the episode. The tutorials are really good. So where do we find those tutorials on WP Tonic?
Well, you mean the actual screencast that I did
Correct.
after the show,
Yep, those are
where I,
good.
where I did a full video. I think it's over 45 minutes long, or I think it's 25, 30 minutes long, where I actually go into quite detail how you set up these two plugins because they do have a lot of option panels, and I think quite a few people have viewed it. I think it's on our YouTube channel.
Right.
There's a blog post page that that has the YouTube video on it as well with some notes. But most people are going to YouTube channel, and a few people have, and it's ranking quite high. For my first screencast, it's a little bit rough and ready, but the quality is quite good.
No, it's very good. Very good. That we need more of that, and that's what I'm working on too. I found my one screencast, which is about how to basically rate us on iTunes, is actually doing pretty well too. It's getting a lot of numbers.
And then we had our Austrian friend.
Correct.
Yes, go and pronounce his name.
From Hehenberger. Did I say that
David
correct?
Hehenberger,
Hehenberger from Austria.
but who lives in Thailand.
Right.
And
His parents were going to come and visit him for Christmas.
I think he's a man between 26, 27, and for somebody of he's done quite a bit, hasn't he? To say
Yes,
the
yes. We've had
least.
some very brilliant people on lately, thanks to your good connections.
And I think the reason why it was so interesting our discussion with David was it showed that there's still enormous business opportunities in the WordPress world that somebody with some developers, he's got development experience as well, but he's also using outsourced developers. I have built, and it's a product that I use. I will probably outreach and see if we could become an affiliate of his actually, because I actually utilize his main product, which is his pricing table product,
Right.
and he's developing a couple of others, and he's doing very well. And it really shows that there's still a lot of business oxygen in the WordPress ecosystem for people to enter. and get quite rapid success. What did you think about that interview, Bill?
No, it was a good interview, and we had very good connections. We were going overseas, both directions, and the sound was good. The topics were excellent. He's a very energetic person. There was a good mix of both technical and getting down to earth how to use some of the elements on WordPress.
Did you find it interesting that he's been able to establish quite a profitable business in WordPress so quickly?
Um, he's been at this like for 4 years, though, hasn't he?
He had about 2 years. He's been developing. I think he published that initial plugin in 2013,
Right.
and I think it took him 6, 7 months to get it developed.
You know what I like about what he's doing is we had an insight into sort of how you create a plugin. He's got the technical knowledge and background that he's learned over the last 2 to 4 years, but he still knows how to work with coders, and you have to hire coders really to get into the code. So he can look at code. He doesn't have to do all the code himself. He has his virtual assistants, which he has at least 2 good ones, working for him, solving problems.
Yeah, he's built an offshore team basically
Right.
because he said his main developer is based in Morocco.
Yep.
He's
In the Philippines, he's got his other developer who he's seen.
no, it's in Vietnam
Oh,
actually.
Vietnam, excuse me, Vietnam.
It was Vietnam,
That's right. And he spent some time in Vietnam and the Philippines.
but that's not his main
Right.
developer. His senior developer is based in Morocco,
Right.
and also, like you say, he's got a couple virtual assistants from the Filipinos that help him out.
Yep.
So he's got a virtual team, and he's utilising that to give. The other factor, which I think has made him really successful, is that he did spend a couple, 3, 4 years in the SEO field, so he knew he had a good understanding what it was needed to market this plugin.
Yeah, right. That's where he started out, doesn't he? SEO, and I guess that was real popular about 4 years ago.
Well, it still is.
Yeah.
It's just altered. Just some of the techniques that worked last year don't work here, and some of the things that work at the present moment won't work next year.
I'm going to ask you a quick question about SEO. Can I deviate a little bit?
Well, we're going to go over the 24 minutes, but that's totally
No,
up
no,
to
no.
you.
We're not going to
Liv.
go over it. Keep on
Listen,
going. I want to ask you an SEO question.
Yep.
Go on. Drive on.
Oh, you want me to go for
I'll ask it at the end.
radio? So that was David, and um, then we had our mega conversation with Morten Rand-Hendriksen from lynda.com, which is the actual podcast is going to be published next week. But we got a number. We had to break it into three.
Wait a second. Wait a second. He said we're going to actually put this show on after we publish Morten. Morten's coming up Sunday.
Yeah. So yeah, it's fair enough.
So a week later you'll hear this show. So if you've already heard Morten, go back and listen to Morten. He'll be episode 15.
Yeah. I apologise.
That's okay.
But we had a mega interview with Morten, didn't we? I call it our Lord of the Rings interview.
Wow. Yeah, we did sort of a 2-part. We did part with WP-Tonic, then Timelines of Success. We went on with his show, and we went on with. So we got part 1, part 2. They're both very good.
We got a part 3 as well.
Yeah, part 3. We could put part 3 up too. That was the talk after the show.
I have, Bill.
Yeah.
Do you actually watch our stuff, Bill?
All the time. I was digging into it. I mean, there's only so much time in the day. You've put it up on YouTube though.
Yes, on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, on YouTube, and we'll talk about that later.
So basically, we had a most detailed, fascinating discussion with Morten. He's to say that his breadth of knowledge of WordPress, philosophy, web design, web development is intense. It's a slight understatement, isn't it, Bill?
No, he's also a Lynda teacher. He's fabulous. I mean, there's so much knowledge in him, and he knows how to work with people because he teaches.
And
He's a top teacher in the country.
I was hoping for, it was still an excellent WP-Tonic hangout. But what I didn't totally agree with everything that Morten was saying because, well, I did in some parts. it's interesting that in our discussions, I love WordPress, but it's quite evident that it's really damaged web design and how a web designer is seen. I think in the lower to medium market, it's totally decimated web design.
I agree with what you're saying, though, but it's allowing small businesses or businesses to really start understanding the web better, actually put their own team together, have more responsive and quicker replies within their own group, no matter what they are. Each company needs like someone who knows WordPress. And I think that's where I come in, creating that school or element to teach that person down in the business how to manage the very first levels of WordPress.
I
But to go
think
to the next level, you need coders, and if you really want to do something crazy,
um,
like
I partly agree with you, but I feel that also I strongly disagree with what you're saying. I understand it, just getting any theme and it gets them started. But most of these people, but the reality is, the other part of this is that a lot of these people were never going to hire a professional
let,
designer anyway. It was totally out of their budget anyway.
let me give you an
So,
example. One of the clients I'm working with right now, and we're just starting to get our clients in slowly but surely. He he started a fairly nice looking website, but he doesn't own his domain name, and he didn't know that. I mean, if you run a business, you got to get some of the basics down. He actually hired a company who is controlling his domain name, and all I want him to do is put it on GoDaddy, DSN it over to that company, so he always controls his domain name. That's really basic. So there's
yes.
got to be a basic core education, and then let them go out and find that person if they want to take it to the next level.
I'm going to say something quite controversial here, Bill, and you see a lot of it in Reno. I don't know if you see this in San Francisco, or you would see this in Denver, or you would see this in Seattle, but you see a lot of it in Reno. To be an effective business person, we are now coming to the end of 2014, and we're entering the new year 2015. The web has been around effectively since 97. So it's been around for over 15 years now. Or you could go back to, say, to 1994. But I would say that it really gathered traction when um, you had a visual browser, Netscape, basically,
Right.
when that came out. So I would say 96, 97. So it's been around for 15 years. Well, to be effective as a business person now, you've got to understand the web. You got to, no,
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not being disparaging here, Bill, but for somebody not to know that they need to control their domain name and they're trying to build a business, Bill, um, I don't quite know. There are a lot of people like that, Bill, but I think they do have a responsibility to educate themselves, don't they?
I agree. I started domain names for my doing businesses, just HTML, real simple systems, 15 years ago, like you said. And I have some of my originals. BillConrad.us is one of my oldest ones. I wish I had BillConrad.com. My whole family has .com. But just the first rule is control your domain name. And I say my simple rule is go to GoDaddy or a United States provider who's not going to go out of business, and you'll have whose is where you can verify that information. That could be a show in itself, but that's the very first thing. But there's still a lot of people in business who don't quite understand that. They know they need to get a website, they know to get some presence, and some have them, some don't, and mostly their kids have built them or helped them out with those resources. That's what I find if they
Well,
have kids.
yeah, I do understand, Bill, but it's a bit like financials. If you're in business, you don't have to be, you don't want to become a professional bookkeeper,
I agree.
and you don't want to become a professional CPA, but you do have to understand the fundamentals of business accounting.
No, no, I
You know,
agree.
you do need to know that, you know, what a gross is, what a net is, you know, have some ability to look at financials and, you know, you do need awareness of the language of
Right.
business.
You got to
And
communicate to the people back and forth.
and I'm just gobsmacked at the ignorance, the stupidity, the ridiculous remarks that I hear in Reno, and we're coming to the year 2015.
I agree.
You
I
know,
agree. It's a little bit different here. You go over the hill. It's a little bit isolated. I put on my different glasses here, but I don't know if it's just Reno. I just think it's just it's evolving. You're having a transition between generations. The generation, the baby boomers now are like the greatest generation. They're sort of moving on, and there's new generation coming in, new business. We could talk about this forever.
yes,
Maybe it'd be a good 214, 215
yeah.
discussion of where we're going.
So basically, we these are some of the, and we also had a long discuss, a long element of the interview was about education and how education deals with technology and the teaching of web development or technology skills in general. And I thought that Morten was the right guy to
Okay.
ask these questions. So if you're a student and you're thinking about going you know, going to a university, or you're looking at a higher education establishment, I think you would get some value from our initial interview and from the free video interviews that we've put on YouTube.
I correct. Correct. Yes. Yep.
Yes.
And
So
I'm going to get you to link all of those. I know some are on videos, but all of them to the WP-Tonic site. One easy place to go find them instead of YouTube.
well, we've got a whacking big link to YouTube channel, haven't we, Bill? You know.
Yeah.
Um, so that was that, and then we finished the month out, Bill, didn't we, with our mega WP Tonic Google Hangout panel discussion, didn't we?
And that was really good too. The once a month, that's very good where we get the top WordPress people across the country, basically those who put the Hangouts together. We're finding really some great people.
And our panel was excellent, wasn't
Yes,
it?
yes, very good. And it came out well. That's the Google Plus Hangout.
And
You got to tell them
what?
where you can find it. You go to video and WP Tonic, and you should be able to find it right there, the first one.
Yeah, and then you will be able to see the show.
Right there at the very top. A panel of heavyweight WordPress experts talk about WordCamp San Francisco 214.
Yes, what did you, of our guests, which ones did you think contributed the best material then, Bill?
Well, we had Morten. They were all good. We had Morten, Adam Silver. Those are my two favorite always to listen to them. They communicate well and talk, but they all did well. They all communicated. You have different techniques, different people. Those are my favorite.
Yeah, I think, you know, I tried to put forward that Automatic, the parent company of WordPress.com and the main force behind WordPress.org. That's another thing I was going to quickly ask you, Bill. As somebody new to this culture, that's rapidly, but I do admire that you have rapidly learnt a lot, and you're up to try and learning this. Is Do you think for a lot of people this what the difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org causes a lot of average people a lot of confusion?
I just say, yeah, it's confusing. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I just go like the basic core WordPress concept of WordPress.org, and yeah, but there's some good stuff out of WordPress.com, and that again we could have a whole show on just explaining the differences. But I think the business guy person who's starting doesn't need to know that. What they need to know is the basics of, hey, let's get a site up that we own the domain and it's got a good framework or good WordPress site. And I say put two sites up, one you play with and then one that's your actual business site.
Yeah,
But
and
honestly, if you're making really good money, you're going to hire a coach or consultant to work with your team. He's going to control it. Who's going to build trust with. And I think it can even be local. There's actually a place for local companies that you can see face to face still with these business people around the community.
yeah, I totally agree with you there. But I think the panel didn't agree with me because I put down that Automatic should have a commercial marketplace like Theme Forest, where they have third party selling commercial themes and plugins, and that automatic, the best ones, they could have the 5-star seal of approval from automatic, and so people know that these top themes on this marketplace that is run by automatic are the best of the best. They are the best coded. They meet all the usability requirements that Morten really tries to push. But the panel really didn't think that was a very good idea, did they, Bill?
First of all, you got to go back to explain to the layman, or the people I like to, not the layman, but the people I work with. WordPress.com is owned by Automatic.
Yes.
So people have to understand that. And they have their own themes, which are basically you put on top of WordPress. So they're always considered to be a really solid organization, company within the community of WordPress.
But those themes are heavily adapted to work on that managed infrastructure, which is WordPress.com, and then they only allow plugins that they develop. So it's like having one fifth of the power of WordPress.org, but it's one extreme. This is my opinion, Bill. It's one extreme to the other. You have this very tightly controlled world of WordPress.com, but only one fifth of the power that comes from the plugin library, which you would find with WordPress.org. But then you go to WordPress.org, and it's like the Wild West.
Yes, I was going to.
You've got independent marketplaces like Theme Forest. You've got other marketplaces as well. They have no linkage to automatic. You have plugins. Yes, you can go to WordPress.org and you can see these plugins, but these and also you can go to the theme, but all these themes are free, and some of them are very, very good. But it's like the plugins. How long are they going to be maintained? How long can these theme developers, and these plugin developers keep maintaining themes and plugins for free? So there's always the worry that you might have a key plugin and at some time it won't be supported.
That's why I always say there's so much value. Almost everything I like to do, it's better be a successful company, and I'm going to pay a little bit of money for the quality.
If it's going to be important to your business and to your plans, yes, that would be wise, wouldn't it?
By the way, for the businessman, the person with the website, one of the plugins you're going to see is Jetpack. You're going to see Jetpack right away because it's going to. I forgot if it's automatically installed with WordPress, isn't it?
No, it isn't the .org, and I don't install it on my clients' websites.
But often you'll see that providers, some of the automatic systems, and that's another thing we could talk about for next year for sure, is the way to install WordPress on your site. That's really important.
Yeah. So how much time have we got, Bill?
About 3 to 5 minutes.
So I think I'd like to talk about how I see some of the challenges to WordPress and some of the opportunities. And I have tried in the WP Hangouts and in our guests, and I think we've been doing this now for 6 months, haven't we?
Yeah, with show 15.
Yeah, I think from very small beginnings, we're now getting some real traction, and I think we've produced some really fantastic material. And but I think there's one major challenge that the WordPress community isn't really looking at, and that challenge is you get your theme, you might go to GoDaddy. I wouldn't utilize GoDaddy for all my hosting, and you might go to the popular hosting providers, and you use their one-click install of WordPress. which I don't recommend, but I understand why people do it. And then you find a theme and then you install it, and then you think you're an average person and you think, oh my God, what do I do now? You know, I don't want to redesign the thing, but I want to move this around on my home page, or I want to make this slight change. And WordPress has come on enormously over the past 4 years with the ability to do changes, but compared to some of the others, totally hosted, totally gated solution like Wix or Weebly, there's about four major players, and next year I'm going to be looking at these and providing some insights, comparing them to WordPress. But compared to some of these solutions about a year ago were quite rough on the edges, but they have improved, and they offer the ability of the average business owner to be able to adapt their site more easier than WordPress. And I think the ability to edit the home page and do basic changes to layout, we need better solutions from the WordPress community. And there are some plugins coming up that do offer better function, this kind of being able to move things around. But it's still not perfect. So what do you feel about what I've just said, Bill?
I believe that you're onto something. That's the making it easier for the business operator or the hobbyist or whatever they might be, a home business, to run their WordPress site. Anything that you make it easier, it's better. But the same token is, you talked about a lot of stuff that I want to go detail about. And I'm learning this is sort of the next evolution. It's the design behind the scenes of the WordPress site, how it's going to function for your business. There's probably about seven or eight different types of businesses, applications, whether it's selling something online, your coffee shop, putting out, collecting email so you can send out flyers directly to your clients, at the coffee shop, collect their email address and their name, put it in their system, send them out coupons, send them out things they like. And I could go on, and maybe we'll take deep dives into different businesses and different models this year in 2015. I'd like to do that for sure.
Yeah, I think we for our podcast we need to wrap up now.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think we'll continue a little bit because there's a couple other things which I want to discuss for 2015.
Right.
So folks, if you want to listen a bit further, we're probably going to have we will have a video, this part plus an additional part on our website and also on our YouTube channel.
More places the better.
Yeah,
that's good, Jonathan. Excellent. Let's drive on next. Let's try to do something next week. In fact, December. Let's try to get one out a week. We've got plenty of shows right now.
Right, so we're wrapping up now.
Yep,
on the podcast.
Yep, all done. Let me shut this off.